Well, here we go. This week we got some exciting stuff happening. We're going to be sanding, and then we're going to get done with that. We're going to sand some more, and then we're going to do a little more sanding, and then finally we're going to finish up the sanding here. So at least on this side. So here we go. All right. So as I said, that little short I put out leading up to this, we're about to get started fairing on it, and I wanted to just talk through first what I did and kind of what it looks like, and hopefully you can see it. But here you can see all these little ridges, okay? And the little ridges that you see going this way, that's actually the weaving or the woven part of the glass. And these ridges here is the fairing compound. So this was a little spreader that I did, and hopefully you can see where I just put a notch on the end, and this stuff here, you can see it just peels right off, and then I'll clean all the spreader off before I start. But I just took that and just pulled it down through here, and it's going to leave these high ridges, and especially like right here, there's a transition where that glass is overlaid. So you got a transition here. So as I go to sand this, with just having these high peaks, should sand those high peaks down really fast. So that's the whole point. But that's what it looks like up close. Once again, and on the chines and all here, and when I go to do the side, I hadn't done the side yet. I hadn't put it on. I may put that on tonight, so depending on how much I get done. But then after I hit this first time, I'll layer this up I'll put a good layer of skim in here, a fairing compound, and I'll get this corner right here really sharp. But kind of up close, that's what the transom looks like. I don't know if I'm gonna tackle it tonight or if I'm gonna just kind of work on this pad and expand on that. Watch out for that ferocious animal in the background. But I'll just take my little scraper you can see here, where I just got a little build-up, and I may just try and take that scraper and knock that down, just see how it sands. But so I'm about to get started doing is just starting to fair this thing out. It's a lot of sanding, but it can't get done till you get started. So I'm gonna get going. And it's kind of a little bit of a different video because there is really a lot of the same in this video, but it is this whole concept that I've undertaken, and putting this fairing compound on with this notch trowel. It may turn out not to be the best thing, but I knew that it was something that I wanted to try, just so that even if this first layer here, even if it was a little more difficult or whatever, every layer beyond this should be easier, and I should constantly be moving towards a really fair surface, and I would take any major problems that I had and mitigate those. So there's a lot of people commenting, a lot of people wondering why I did this. Something that I saw, it made sense to me. And ultimately I just I rolled the dice and said, I'm gonna do this even if it's a little more work. And and it turned out it was pretty tough. But you can I'm gonna try and do some explanations here, and I got a few little periods, but you're gonna see some of this, so you can listen to the different sounds of the board and how it's working. And then I'm gonna run through some of it pretty fast, so you can see in time lapse how the stuff changes and how it looks different. And it's not always the best audio because of the way that when you speed it up a little bit, it just kind of takes a different tone. But what you'll hear is the difference in the board, how it's going over those ridges, and it has a distinct sound. And then once you get like behind me, you can see that where it's kind of just that light green. That's actually the dust. It's the dust from the tops of those pieces that settled down into those grooves. You really couldn't see it while I was doing this, but once I come back here at the end and I vacuum, you can really tell that that's what's happening. And so you'll see how you're not actually knocking all of this stuff down. You're actually just taking a lot of that dust and putting it down into those little voids or whatever in those ridges. It's kind of hard to explain. Hopefully I'll show you a little bit later. I do walk through and do a better job of that. But ultimately here, I've had people talk about how I need to go this direction or that direction, and you can see I kind of try and go in every direction, because ultimately, we're trying to bridge all the way from the keel of the boat all the way to the, basically the inner part of the chine. And like here, where the time lapse goes a little bit faster and you get a little bit broader view, you can kind of see how it's starting to take shape. And you can see that color change on the stuff that I hadn't sanded above me there. It's that dark green, and then you get all of this sanding dust, and that light yellow color you see there is actually just sanding dust. You could tell there as I was comparing those two different sounds. So once you've kind of got all that flattened down and it's sanded down, the sound of the paper changes, and then here, it's really, really rough, and you can even see how rough the surface is. And then it just goes to powder, and honestly, this Total Fair by Total Boat, it does sand really, really easy. Like where I have places, especially along the keel here, where you can see where there's some buildup. Like you hit those places 3 or 4 times with that board, and they're back down to flush. So by and large, I was really happy with the way this stuff sanded. It's more expensive, but I had some problems mixing the stuff before, so this is what I was able to get down and move the ball forward a little bit. So that's what I'm doing. So, and you can also see here as I'm running along those chines, I can kind of only run one direction there, but you'll see me at some point where I'll tip that board out and cover that outside edge. So all I'm trying to do is define that and make it flat, and then you see I adjust it here. Now I'm on the hull, and I start maneuvering that. But ultimately, when I get to the other side, there's basically 2 lines that I'm going to be sanding through here. One is from the keel to that inner chine, and the other is that little 3 or 4 inch section, which is from the inner chine to the outer of the chine. And I may not have my terminologies exactly correct, but I'm gonna show you a couple different angles here, and then time lapse through some of this, because I didn't see any of this, like lots of this footage to see what's it like. I've never done this before, so everything that I've learned here now going into an hour of it is just what I learned by doing it. So hopefully I can help some other people here. Yeah, I'm tired. My heart rate gets up. Wearing that respirator it's just really hard to breathe. As a fat guy, it takes me a lot of air to keep this high performance engine running. It takes a good bit of air to get through my little carburetor there. So I'm gonna go through a couple different phases, like I said here, and just kind of giving everybody an idea. This is what it looks like. This is how long it takes. This is the work you got to put in. I mean, this is all just 2 arms swinging that board and 80 grit paper, and it just takes time. So just kind of follow along here, and you can skip forward if you want to. Other than that, just kind of listen to it run, and it is a very peaceful thing to do, even though it's some work. But it is peaceful to see this rough shape start come together, and you can know that everything that I'm doing right now is going to be reflected in the final finish that I get. So it's not real hard to keep pushing forward and make this happen and want it to be really nice. Even though I'll say this, I'm not overly concerned and obsessed with how the bottom of this boat looks. I want it to be flat, and I want it to look good, and I don't want to cut any corners and make it look like a trailer park dragging down a dirt road, but because that's what I grew up on. But I want it to be nice. But ultimately, I mean, nobody's ever going to see this but me when I do this, and I'm going to move it along pretty fast and get to a reasonable result. So once again, it's pushing that board around is a lot of fun, and I say that a lot. I left this part in because I think you can see, it gives you a good idea, especially for somebody who's never done this like me. I've never done this, and there are lots of people out there. I'm just working on 1/2 of the bottom of the boat right now. I mean, this is only 1/2 I've really focused on, and it, I was thinking maybe I could have got the whole bottom done in this 3-4 hour span here, and really I just got 1/2 done, and I come back and did more to it. But once again, you can listen to the sounds of it a little bit, and tell when you're going over smooth material, and like this, like what I'm going over now, is pretty smooth. And even though we speed it up a little bit, you can still kind of hear the sound change and the way the paper works. And right here, you can really see how that board, that block there has a little give to it. So as you start moving from the bottom to the top, you can see that board kind of bending with the curve of the boat. And I try and stay pretty systematic, but I do find myself kind of bouncing around. I'm starting to worry a little bit about the pad on the bottom of the boat, and I'm worried that it's going to come out symmetrical and consistent and straight, and it should, but I'm a little concerned about it because of how it just with the dust and everything that goes with it, I can't really tell. And man, let me tell you, this is a very dusty deal. I'm very thankful for that respirator, and when I come in at night and I'm done with all this, I can take that respirator off and I breathe good. And guys, if you're doing this, make sure you protect yourself, because this stuff's not good over long term. So take care of yourself. You wouldn't think it, but being towards the bow, it actually gets more difficult because of the way that the bow is shaped. I can't reach all the way out to the keel, but you can see there where we're starting with a lot of that rough, fairing, and I'm just kind of wearing it down. You can see that, like I said, all this like kind of lime green color you can see is all just where, and I had to go change the paper, put some more paper on it. And you kind of watch it here, you can see the dust going over the top there, and like every swipe is it's really cutting pretty good. It's a lot of stuff, but it's kind of the process that we're going through here, and it's not easy, but we're going to get through it. I'm going to get through it by and large, and we'll hopefully make a decent looking hull. Yeah, old fat boy started huffing and puffing here. Heart rate about 172 beats a minute. It's hard to breathe through that mask. As I'm working on the front here, towards the bow, I feel like I'm getting close to this side. But one of the things, I hope people understand is I've never done this before, so I don't know. One of the things that's tough is I don't know what done looks like. I don't know when I'm done with this first layer. So, I keep kind of going over it and going, okay, well, maybe just a little bit more, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit more. Maybe I need to, maybe I'm just not there. Don't stop too soon, But I did learn a lot on this front side here that I'm going to apply to the next side, that'll be coming up. And it's kind of weird, but this kind of footage shows, right here, where I was, a little nervous. So I just decided, not, just kind of the way that I am, is I'm gonna just go over everything 2 more times. And ultimately, I think it's hard to see with all of that dust in there. But when I vacuumed all the dust out at the end, which we're going to show all that, you know, I was really proud of the way it looked. And you can see there's kind of the line of the keel, and then there's another line that runs between there and the chine, and that's just where those 2 layers of fiberglass that cover the bottom of the hull, that's just where they overlap. So that where you see that edge, that's how much overlap I have on each side. I think here towards the stern it's about 10 inches off the keel, and then I go from 10 to 8 to 6 to 4, you know, by all the time I get all the way to the bow. But you know, here it is. I've been working on it, and you know, I'm gonna finish up, and I get my shop vac out, which I keep right there, and you'll see how it changes colors like when I start vacuuming it, because it's pulling all of that dust out of those voids, and it starts to kind of look all the same again. But you know, when you run your hand over it, which you'll see me do quite often, you can feel how much smoother the hull is, and ultimately, like even with the dust laying in there, I feel like I got a pretty good start on where I need to go. So I'm gonna keep working on it and get this thing moving. Kind of after I vacuumed there was still a couple little pieces, you know, a little bit of dust that was hanging down in the bottom there. So I just got my little blower out and tried to blow it all out, and it worked out pretty good. Not a whole lot of dust, and you know, there I go. I still want to pick up that block and sand some more, but I actually had to stop myself. But it looks pretty good. We're gonna give you a little summary here, and appreciate y'all watching. You know, follow along and let me know what you think. Well, here's the first night sanding. I have to tell you, that longboarding, you know, pushing that block around there, man, you talk about some kind of fun. I mean, I don't know why people complain about it. It's a lot of fun. But here you can see, let me see if I can get down here close. You can see where the ridges are, and especially right here in this area. This is where that fiberglass lays over, so there's a lip there. So naturally, you're gonna have a little bit more stuff left there, so that this will smooth out over time. So, but that's by and large, that's what happened all the way through here. You can see, kind of sanded. This is really smooth. Like you can, the lines that are going this way is almost like just where it filled the weave in the glass, and then you got, like I said, up here where you have these spots that are a little bit higher. It's because this, you know, as this straight edge comes across here, that's the low spot. So come back in here and pull putty, we'll fill all that up. So that's kind of the process. You know, that's the torch board there. And it's not too awful bad, but it's not good either. Once again, this will maybe give you a little idea of where, you know, I'm starting to sand into the glass here. This is where that glass is doubled over. Not such a big deal sanding that, but then this stays high so that this transition here will be all the same. So yeah, it'll be a process, and I don't really know that I saved myself by doing these. I think with the extra weave of this 1808, it's gonna pay off. But I don't know that I'm gonna do it on the sides after sanding this back. This is a good example, like of where I kind of just pulled putty, or pulled that fairing compound and didn't so much notch it. And I mean, you can see how it's smoother, and all this transition and all is nice. And this is what it all should look like next go around, you know. So that's what we're shooting for. Kind of a time perspective, it's probably got, you know, 3 hours into it sanding. You can see the heart rate got up a good bit. Just gotta take my time and not wear myself out all that, you know, can't do it all in the first hour. So, and same thing here, you can see where this chine transitions. So this is where that flat is, and then this shows up as a low spot. So when I pull that next batch of fairing compound through there, I should fix it. So yeah, these pants used to be gray and had color at the bottom, but everything is all dusty now. So I'm gonna keep going. Got a little bit of the pad done here in the center. Kind of excited to see that pad take shape, but we'll see. you know, when it was full of dust, you could kind of really see in there, and it's coming along, you know. Probably have to do this 3 times at least. That's what I'm gonna prepare mentally. So we'll see what happens.